The crowd as the two bulls are led to a fallow field where the fight is supposed to take place as the invited clans arrive at the selected venue and await at the grounds where the bulls will challenge one another.
Hata kama sasa ng'ombe sikuwa hivi viwanja ni mbaya, watoto wako ndani, watu wako ndani, inakuwa shida sasa hata kwa watu wengine kufikia karibu hiyo ng'ombe.
After Opanda's funeral service, bullfighting takes precedence. Unlike in other cultures such as the Spanish Corrida de Toros, where there is a matador that is a man attempting to publicly subdue, immobilize or kill a bull, in Western Kenya bullfighting, there is no matador. Instead, bulls are pitted against each other in a clear field where the atmosphere is festive.
Mahali penye itafika kwa kiwanja ndio tutaifungulia.
The crowds march to the field singing Isukuti, a Luhya community traditional dance, and everything comes to a standstill until the moment the winner is proclaimed. Full of adrenaline, spectators press together, shouting, blowing whistles, and carrying long sticks to protect themselves from bulls that turn their attention toward the human encircling them.
Tunasongea ndio tuwapatie motisha kupigana. Hiyo ndio yopatia moral. At least wakipigana wanaona watu wetu wako nyuma yetu, wanatusupport, ndio wanapigana na kwa nguvu zaidi.
After all the troops have danced at the grave with their bulls, the bullfight then starts. The winner of every fight gains permission to return to the grave in triumphant ceremony. At the end of the bullfight, the champion is honored. The owner of the winner is rewarded accordingly. The bull is taken home as a hero with heroic songs.
Praia fari wangu wote wawili, Mbere Kenzi na Khavere, wote wameshinda. Na niko na furaha sana.
The owner of this bull will customarily be required to provide some drinks and even food to the mashabiki and give token to the other leaders as an appreciation. When all the bulls have been cleared, the main celebrant returns to the celebration drum and recites prayers to the ancestors to bless all who attended the Shilembe.
Baada ya kuzikwa, kuna tambiko litafanywa ambalo linaitwa uhusola. In English is a sort of a retaliatory ritual. Ng'ombe itachinjwa na itachinjwa kando na boma, na kutoka hapo hiyo ng'ombe itagawanywa sehemu mbili.
For my culture, I'm Jackie Wambiro.
The day is 29th day of March 2022. Good morning. This is KBC News Tech. Glad you could make the time. And for the next 2 hours or so, we will be checking on what all the news making headlines in the country as such. And you bear me witness that for the last, let's say yesterday and today, politics have a little been kept aside. This is why Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha yesterday released the 2021 KCPE examination results in what was the last under the Jubilee administration and the second last before we transition to the competency-based assessment fully. And that is what will be forming part of our discussion today. And one key thing that came out of the released results yesterday is that 2021, they did perform better. The candidates did perform better than the 2020. Of course, a myriad of challenges, if you ask me. The current drought, of course, there is insecurity in parts of the country, the COVID-19 pandemic, the rushed education calendar, but my guest today was able to beat all that. But before I introduce my guest, Professor George Magoha released the results of over 1.2 million candidates yesterday. This is what he had to say.
While announcing the results, Professor George Magoha said the overall performance in main grade improved compared to 2020, though the top pupil scored 428 marks compared to last year's 433 marks. 14 candidates took the top 10 slots.
The top candidate for this year's examination is Magata Bruce Mackenzie from Gilgil Hills Academy. He is at position 1 with 428 points. The second candidate is Momanyi Ashley Kerubo from Makini School, Kibos, with 427 points.
And immediately after the Education Cabinet Secretary's announcement, celebrations marked various parts of the country as candidates who emerged top received the news. Top pupil Bruce Magata Mackenzie from Gilgil Hills Academy celebrated his victory at his home in Rangau, Rongai in Kajiado County.
At first I was shocked, I didn't expect it, but later got overjoyed. I was so happy.
There was something I was doing kwa nyumba wakiendelea ku announce. So wakiendelea ku announce nilikuwa tunategea Magoha malize kueleza, and then akishafungua sasa tutume message, but we didn't get there. Yes.
So how was it?
I got confused. Mimi nilijipata hata nimeanguka chini. I was screaming. I went looking for him. He was not around at that time. So I went looking for him. I could not even explain. Mimi hata I was just crying.
It was also celebrations galore in Makini School, whose Kisumu branch produced second top performer and Nairobi branch secured 6th slot countrywide.
How I prepared for my exams was that it was very hectic because it was a crash program, but with hard work and determination and proper time management, I was able to produce these marks.
As a school, we feel honored. So far, received 40 over 400 marks. We are expecting more.
6 candidates tied in position 3 with 426 marks. One of them was Muteti Chantel of Kitengela International School. The other third-placed pupil was Charity Bunyanze from Holy Family Misiku Girls in Bungoma.
Matokeo haya kweli mbali na kumcha Mungu na kazi yake kutimia. Juhudi na jitihada za wanafunzi kushirikiana kwa karibu sana na wazazi kumechangia pakubwa sana ufanisi wa matokeo haya.
Indeed, and the congratulations messages continue to stream in, and for the next hour or so, kindly send in any of the congratulation messages that you have, and I'll be able to sample some during and at the tail end of this show. Well, my guest today, let's say before the announcement of the exam results yesterday, his name was not very well known. But as we speak today, look at all the dailies. His face is actually on the front page of every newspaper we have in the country. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Bruce Mackenzie Magata, who is a top student in the country in the just released KCPE examination result by Professor George Magoha yesterday, and he is seated right here. Karibu sana, Bruce. Niaje? Unafilaje kuwa the top student Kenya?
I'm very happy. I thank God.
Of course, we will be getting more of him, and of course he has been accompanied by his father, Jared Magata. Where did you get the news?
I was listening into the release, and only to be shocked that his name is being read first.
Yes. What did you do?
I was with my brother Wycliffe. And we could not even talk. In fact, we were looking at one another. It was unbelievable.
Okay. his father has accompanied Bruce, and of course we also have an education expert with us. It's not the first time we have hosted him here. It's Mark Murunga. Karibu sana, Mark. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Though it's Mark Matunga.
First things first. Jared,
yes.
Where were you, Bruce, where were you when the results were being announced? I can tell you for free, I was right here, seated right here as they were being announced. Where were you?
I wasn't in the house. I'd been sent. On coming back, it's when my mom actually broke the news to me. Yeah, I was very happy. At first I was shocked. I could not believe it. Yeah.
And Jared, he has done something that is not done by every Kenyan. It's not an everyday thing. How was he while growing up? Was he a top student all through?
Okay, he's been doing relatively well. Only that topping the nation was the surprise. Of course, he used to get above 400 marks most of the time, but I never expected that he will be the best in the country. Yeah.
Jared, which were some of your Bruce, which were some of the favorite subjects while in school?
My favorite subjects were maths and science, and I also enjoyed the write-ups, composition and Insha. Yeah.
And I know because in our time, of course, when you hear an A student, it's A. I'm quite sure there's a subject perhaps that gave you jitters when you were sitting for the exam.
At first, I thought it was Kiswahili, but thanks to my teacher, Mr. Nganga, he ensured that I was ready for the exam, and I think I did to my level best when it came to KCP. Yeah.
Jared, you have overseen your son grow up and become the top student in the country. Perhaps you can tell us some of the things that you are doing to actualize that and ensure that he has the best education and has the best environment. Remember, there was COVID. There's so much Kenya is grappling with at the moment.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe among other things that we tried doing, of course, with the help of God, and most importantly, the mother of the boy, we were able to provide the resources required, the textbooks for use, revision materials. Those ones were available so much so that whenever they were at home, especially during COVID, you could be revising. Then we also guide and counsel our child. We talk to him. We talk to him all the time. We encourage him. We always try to tell him that it's possible. It is workable. And we thank God he has been so disciplined. He listens and does according to the guidance that we give. Yeah.
Bruce, which school would you like to join and what would you want to pursue in future?
Okay, my dream school is Alliance Boys High School, and later I'd like to pursue engineering. Yeah.
I'm quite sure there are a lot of young men and young women who are looking up. I remember even one of my colleagues told me that he will tell his little brother to watch today so that you may give some of the advice or some of how you are preparing for the exam, bearing in mind that we had COVID as well, and we had a lot of challenges in the country as well.
Okay, so first I can tell them it's putting God first, and in addition to that you should put extra effort, sacrifice free time that you have. Well, do your best, and yeah.
You are not a boarder, right?
I was.
You are a boarder?
Yeah.
Kindly tell us a sample of your day, how you did perhaps in the morning and your revision patterns.
Okay, so we would wake up at 4:30, yeah, and we'd sleep at 10. So during the day, it was ample time to do various revision, various exams. So during free time, I would utilize it to do various model papers and pass KCP papers. Yeah.
And Jared,
yes,
you also as a parent have played together with the mom. We've seen the mom on television, and he was quite excited. She was among the first people who knew that Bruce was the first student in the country. What are some of the things that you had to do and some of the discipline that you had to follow to ensure that Bruce actualizes his dream, and he has for the past like 14 years or so.
Yeah, of course, discipline in terms of time management, that's one thing that of course we agreed with him. We normally
have a conversation.
There is time for play and there's time for study. And we thank God he's been obedient. He has always followed the agreements that you have made. Then the elder siblings have also been quite encouraging. He has 2 elder siblings.
He's the third born?
Yeah, he's the third born. The elder one is Barbara, who is in Moi University. We have another one in Michael, who is in Tuk. So he was under pressure to perform. So that equally contributed to the fact that he had to work a little bit harder to see, and we thank God he was able to beat them, by the way.
All right. Yeah. And Bruce, congratulations again.
Thank you.
But I'm quite sure it has not been just smooth sail since you got into standard 1 and to now you've completed the KCPE. What are some of the challenges? If any. In Kenya, we are grappling with so many things. We have even the challenges of politics as well.
Okay, so let's say like dropping. Yeah, dropping could really lower my morale, but I just kept trying. Yeah, and I was sure that I would pass. Yeah.
You are now a Gilgil Hills Academy alumni. What can you say about the school and how they also assisted you in actualizing the good results that you've posted?
Okay, it's an excellent school. I really enjoyed their services. They were there for me every time I needed their support, and they were very supportive. They have a very strong religious background. Yeah, they can say the teachers, they're very dedicated to their work. Yeah, and they sacrifice extra time just to come to class. Yeah.
Jared, your son has mentioned some of the challenges that he faced while he was trying to be the best, because I'm quite sure of the 1.2 million candidates who are trying to be the best. What are some of the challenges that you had to do? You also have other kids as well.
Yeah, of course, meeting the requirements was a challenge, especially with the COVID pandemic that challenged various sources of incomes that we have. But again, we thank God. Above everything, we were able to do that. Then maybe the fact that there also schools were closed for quite a long time, that ate into their time of revision. But as he puts it, we thank the teachers for the effort they did. And the class teacher, Festus Kialo, is among those that really supported him among the rest of the other teachers. I think they did wonderful work. Otherwise, we as parents who are not the ones teaching, so teachers are the ones who have had to do a lot of work so that this result has been realized. So we cannot seriously claim ownership of the result, but we give credit to the teachers and above all God, who has brought us this far.
Has he been an A student throughout?
He's been above average. Yeah. The consistency with which he's been there is something that we still thank God for. Yeah, but the surprise that he became the best is still something that I'll keep saying. That
has to sink in.
Yeah, that was surprising.
Bruce, we can see a lot of people. How have you taken in the news? You know, you are not used to so many cameras, so many people around you, everybody asking you, how have you done it? How have you taken the news? How is it sinking in? And you're quite young.
Well, it's a little overwhelming, but yeah, I'm very happy. Yeah, and
looking at the calendar, the education calendar, looking at since COVID struck and we had to go back to school, and the government said that it's going to try and compress all the terms into one. How are you able to balance? You know, there's a time that the holidays were what, a week or something? How are you able to plan and actualize that you have already covered everything that you need to cover and you have enough time to revise and prepare for your exam?
Okay, so most of the holidays weren't meant for free time because we had assignments that we were given from school. But since I had a timetable, there was actually a time for these assignments. Then later we do the revision. Yeah.
Let's now bring in an education expert in Mark Mutunga. Mark.
Yes.
Professor George Magoha did announce the KCPE examination results, and they were pleasing, even more than the 2020. How did you receive and how can you rate the 2021 KCPE examination as announced yesterday?
Thank you, Collins. By the way, I don't wish to correct you much, but my last name is Matunga, so you can go by Mark Matunga. But Mutunga is okay, because Willie is still a good friend of mine.
All right.
Allow me to first of all congratulate Bruce and his parents, and also thank God for the opportunity that we had yesterday going forward as a country. If you look at 2020 results and 2021 results, definitely it's a good sign. There's improvement, and I want to congratulate the leadership of the Ministry of Education, Professor Magoha and PS Dr. Juan, and also the President for steering this ship up to where it has actually landed for the benefit of our young Kenyans who actually took the exams in a good environment. I think the students were prepared. They went through the COVID process, COVID pandemic gap. But you can now tell that actually, even as a country, we're not just beginning to recover in the economic aspects, but even in the other social aspects like education, there is opportunity to actually recover that. So I congratulate the parents, I congratulate the students, the government, and the critical stakeholders, and that's the Kenyans who are actually cheerleaders.
It is the last KCPE to be announced by Professor Magoha under the Jubilee administration, and he has been there for the last couple of years, first being the chairman of NEC and now the CS of Education. How can you rate his scorecard as an education CS?
Magoha has done a good job. Let's give it to him. There are instances where he has had to actually step on our toes as Kenyans, but then it's been for a good reason. Magoha is steady, he's firm, he's clear on the vision that he had agreed with the president to actually pursue. He's a no-nonsense, a guy of high integrity. Of course, there are missteps here and there, but the good thing is that he actually has done a good job as the Cabinet Secretary for Education. But let us also remember that the reforms in the exams or the reforms at NEC, he was a part of in a large way, working together with Dr. Fred Matiang'i at the time when he was the Minister for Cabinet Secretary for Education, and Magoha was the chair at NEC. Magoha initiated, with the support of Dr. Matiang'i, a lot of reforms that actually has seen the integrity of the exams actually coming back, Kenyans having a bit more faith in exams and in the process. And so he's been a part of that. I think the wisdom of the president to actually appoint him as the Cabinet Secretary for Education was to actually ensure that sort of reform process was steadied through, and the progress of that actually continued, just so that Kenyans would realize the benefit. But I must also indicate that at the time of initiating these reports, there was a lot of pain for Kenyans, or some Kenyans in some ways, that some of them did not even appreciate where we are going. But actually, I think Magoha has done a good job. If this is his last exam, KCP exam, that is announcing under the Jubilee administration, then I'll be one of the Kenyans that would say thank you to the job that he's done, the job that he did at NEC, and the job that he has done at the Ministry of Education.
And back to you, Bruce Mackenzie. What do you like to do to unwind in the time auko exam, auko class, and you're not obeying your parents that time? What do you like to do when you unwind?
I enjoy drawing. Yeah, so I like drawing cartoons. Yeah.
And From your speech yesterday, you said that you would aspire to be a robotics engineer. Wow, that is something quite heavy if you ask me. During our time we had I want to be a lawyer, a doctor. Why robotics?
I just think from the word go, I'd always wanted to be an engineer, but I wasn't sure which field. Then my friend in school introduced me to robotics. I didn't give it much consideration, but then after research from various sources, I saw that it really interests me. I was very interested and fascinated by what it involved, and I vowed to do it.
And Jared, I remember during our time, most of what you aspired to do had to be somehow in tandem with what the parents want. You couldn't have told your parent, I want to be a DJ, and they were very happy. They wanted doctor, lawyers, or engineers. He's talked about robotics engineering. Is something that you welcome and you will support him?
Okay, I have no idea what that means. By the way, my children, the others, him included, have always thought of the medicine you have talked about, the law. I tried to convince them to go medicine, for example, because the other two qualified, but none of them will hear any of that. So I let them choose what they wanted, because even if I pushed them, the passion equally matters.
But you do support them?
Yeah, I supported them. By the way, I equally wanted to become a lawyer. Then I ended up being a teacher.
Okay. It's a good thing that you've answered my next question, which is your field, and how it has played a role in making Bruce a top student in the country.
Yeah, so I think somehow I have some understanding on how learning takes place, because having undertaken the teaching professional training, I have the background of teaching, and that helps me even select materials that he may need for his level. I'm even able to, especially in my subject area, I'm able to assess material whether it is good enough for use for a candidate.
Which subject do you teach?
I teach English literature. Yeah, I'm a teacher at St. Don Bosco Secondary School in Mira County.
It's a good thing that you are a teacher, because I would want to ask you, what's your view on the CBC, bearing in mind that this KCPE was the second last that you're doing under the examination before we transition fully to the competency-based assessment under CBC?
Yeah, CBC is a good idea. If the structures and the facilities required to enhance CBC and to make it effective are availed, it is a good idea. As we teach, not all students are able to excel academically, but when you give them a chance to explore areas that they're talented, or areas that they can go into freely, you notice that a number of them have become so successful. It is not necessarily that everyone must be able to make it to the good grades or the top grades per se, but again, every student or every child has a potential. The only thing that is required is to nurture the talent, guide them, and give them the chance to excel in their area of choice. It works.
And I see Ronald Ngala saying, that's awesome, congratulations again.
Thank you.
And also somebody else who is congratulating you on Facebook is Sam Daniel. If you have someone you would want or you would wish to congratulate on the KCPE examination results released yesterday, then you can get a hold of us on our social media spaces. Mark, the CS did announce some of the things that the government have been able to achieve, and one of them is the reduction of the cases of cheating. And something else that really came out so strongly is the performance of special needs education schools or special needs education students. Kindly comment on that.
Collins, one of the things that is abundantly clear is that this administration in the context of education has achieved a lot. One of them being the CBC or CBE that you're asking Bruce's dad earlier. When you look at the results, you can also easily tell, when you look at the performance, you can easily tell that private schools have outdone public schools. The top 10 or top 9 students are, you would find that most of them, if not 90 or 95%, are from private schools. There's also the element of gender. I think the girls have great, myself being a daddy of girls, the girls have outdone the boys. Again, that's something that you and I can discuss a little later in this show. It is extremely encouraging that special needs institutions or schools have stepped up. Again, that is critical to underscore in the context of the reforms, because that's usually a segment that is not paid attention to. And I think that the ministry or the cabinet secretary calling that out and actually informing Kenyans that those institutions, those students have performed well is extremely encouraging news to us as Kenyans. And that's something that I think we need to talk a little bit more, which actually would also underscore why the competency-based education is useful, and I think you're coming to that.
And back to you, Bruce, how are you able to juggle all the classwork? There's a time, of course, there was COVID, so you had to basically stay home and look at the books alone, and perhaps you were assisted by your parents?
I can say that, well, I planned my time, and just to ensure that I had everything in order so that I could know what to do when. And on coming back to school, the teachers ensured that they ensured that we picked up immediately.
And your revision regime, how was it?
Okay, it involved waking up a little bit early.
What time were you waking up?
Let's say 7 to 7:30.
When that is when you're not in school.
Yes.
But what about the school regime? How was it?
The school, we woke up at 4:30.
From there you had to go.
There's preparation, then we go to class for preps at 5.
Jared, growing up, how was he, other than the A student that we now know, how was he while growing up?
He's not very outgoing. He's reserved. I'll say a man of few words.
But lots of action.
He doesn't speak much, but he does a number of things with a keen eye. Then even if you looked at him when he's doing his assignment, he appears to concentrate on what he's doing. Maybe that could have also contributed.
And Mark, looking at what the CEO, Nancy Macharia of the Teacher Service Commission, and the good CS also talked about, there is an acute shortage of teachers. And looking at now, we have a new system where we have the CBC, and we are transitioning. We still have that deficit. We need more teachers, and we haven't bridged that gap yet.
Thanks, Collins. There is no day that we will say that we have enough teachers. That's for sure. I don't think that there's any country that says, hey, we have enough teachers, so we have enough resources, especially in the 21st century, in the context where we operate now. So yes, the shortage of teachers is still acute, which then means that the government need to actually invest a lot more in recruiting more teachers. But aside from just looking at the quantity, we should actually be looking at quality. Then we should also be looking at what sort of tools can we use to actually augment. I know usually I've been in this trade for now 19 years. I've been accused for pushing for technology at the expense of teachers or at the expense of hiring teachers, or that technology will basically put teachers out of work, render teachers jobless. But I think that this is where, and I don't want to miss the opportunity to actually drive in the aspect of when we have the shortage, which will be there for a long time, and I think that the government needs to actually do a little bit more to get more teachers into schools or into the education sector. We can also augment that with technology, and that is one thing that I also encourage teachers to actually to adopt technological approaches to help them reach more students, help them reduce the workload, but also help us as a country and as a people be able to actually reach more students with quality education. So the truth is, yes, we don't have enough teachers, and it's not something that's going to be resolved anytime soon. Even though I think that the government needs to actually be deliberate about it. I think that what we're doing every other time that, hey, 5,000 teachers are being employed, or 2,000 teachers are being employed, or 10,000 teachers are being, employed to help, fill the gap of those who have left. I think that we also need to drive the agenda of infusing and bringing a bit more of technology into space to actually help reduce the pain and reduce the workload for the few teachers that we have.
And indeed, that's a very good entry point when we talk about technology. And Bruce, the next question is yours. Looking at robotics, your dad said that he's quite green when it comes to matter. I'm also quite green in robotics, because what I know is that robotics is a study of robots that kind of mimic what humans do. Like we have the ones used in factories, the ones that are used in medics and stuff. But looking at a country like Kenya, we have not really advanced that much in terms of technology. Would you think that would be a hindrance?
I think so, but I just hope so that come future years will improve. Yeah.
Dad, you've had, of course, the technological challenges, and of course, looking at our universities, there are some of the things we would say they are quite green. Looking at the subject also, like I've seen the University of Nairobi have geospatial and nuclear science or something like that. And us in Africa, and mostly in the Horn of Africa, we haven't been able to get the education and the expertise and the equipment to do some of the things that our kids want to do.
Yeah, maybe my comment will be our governments need to set their priorities right. You note that most countries that have been able to develop economically have had to invest in technology and science. That is what is driving most world economies. So if our government invested more in technology and science, then we'll be able to get the experts that we need so that we are able to compete with the world. But in the event that that is not done, then obviously we'll still be lagging behind. The good thing is that this country has brains that can be useful. So it's a matter of giving them the resources that they need, getting the right persons handling the training of the Kenyans, then we are good to go. Yeah, so I think going forward, if those that do policies in the ministries of education, the economic planning of the country, then they should consider putting more funds towards technology, science, so that research is done. Then we are able to move forward equipped, and we have the expertise that we need to drive our economy.
And I hope all the relevant stakeholders right now are listening, because looking at what Bruce wants to do is something quite new here in the country, but I'm quite sure you can even get scholarships. You can go and study abroad, right? But you have 4 more years to actualize that. So I would really urge you to be keen and be also the top student again. Shall we expect the same results in the next 4 years?
Yeah, sure.
And Mark, the CS did talk about the classrooms that are there, and he said that the government is almost done with the first phase. Only a few schools which have not been fully complete, and he gave actually the exact amount of money used per classroom in the country. He's talking about slightly over 700,000, but before We are doing 1.5 million a class. Does that beg questions for an audit in the education sector?
Thank you, Collins. That's an interesting topic, or aspect of the education reform. Number one, I congratulate Professor Magoha and the education leadership for coming up with the funds to build CBC classrooms. And by the way, and this is a grave mistake we've been making as a country, and this is part of where we are actually going wrong. We have termed our system of education as CBC. But the system of education that we're talking about now is actually CBE, competency-based education. CBC is just basically a curriculum, which is a set of instructions that help guide teachers in terms of content delivery. But we're now calling it CBC. So let's call it that. But really, if we miss some of these approaches and concepts, then we can actually get into problems. So yes, right now we're calling it CBC, and the ministry actually gave out money and prescribed and said that none of these classrooms are going to be built with the money more than 778,000 shillings. That's good, and I think that to me is something that I really support. Collins, you're talking to somebody who actually comes from an environment that is a lot more difficult. I come from an island in Mfangano, in Lake Victoria. That's where my home is. And I thank the government and Professor Magoha for having given us, on that island, there are 7 CBC classrooms that are being built. While I agree with Magoha that actually setting the standard of 778,000 shillings for building a classroom, there are instances where affirmative action is required, where variation is definitely important, because by the time you buy cement, somebody can say that I'm being petty on this, but this is practical. I have supported some of the contractors that are actually building this. It is practical. By the time you buy cement and you put it on a boat and move it to Mfangano Island, if it is 600, by the time you buy it, it'll be 1,000 by the time you actually land it in a school on Mfangano Island. And that is a fact that not even Magoha, nobody can actually run away from. So I think that there's need to actually tweak that depending on certain areas. Because if I'm a school next to a hardware, then it becomes easy. Cement is 600, I'll build it for 600. If you're coming from Mfangano Island, where cement becomes 1,000 by the time you land it in the school, there's need to actually vary that. But to be honest, I thank the ministry. What has been achieved by this is tremendous, because then it calls into question, why are we spending 1.5 million to just build four walls? And if you look at the standard and even the BQ of the very classroom that Magoha designed, it has a lot more features than just regular 4 walls that we've been building with 1.5 million. So I think that even though I'm pleading that in certain areas it needs to vary, but not by that much, not by 1.2 million, not by 1.5 million. And I think there's value for money in terms of what the ministry was able to do, and help us deal with issues of integrity as well.
All right, that's also a discussion for another day, and it's Troy, not Collins. And I'm quite sure, Bruce, there are a lot of people who have made sure that you are where you are, and you would like to maybe thank them. But before you do that, I can see Willie Njue says that's awesome. Congratulations. Eriko Ombati, congratulations, my brother Jared. Awesome, that's my former teacher over the screens. Congrats, Bruce, for making Dad proud. He's Lord Gas Agwata. He says he's a teacher. Adesh Despina, that's awesome. Congratulations. And also Bowie says congratulations. Who are some of the people, apart from your parents and perhaps your immediate family, who have made you who you are and made you actualize your dream of good results and even topping the country?
I think my friends in school, they always believed that I could do it. Yeah, although I wasn't sure of myself, but they're always there for me. They supported me. Yeah, just like to thank them. Yeah, and also my teachers.
Now, Jared, there are some people who you cannot wish away, and you can really say these people have really assisted my son to be the man that he is now.
Yeah, quite a number, unfortunately. Most importantly is the mother, who is actually she is the disciplinarian. She played a key role. Then I also have my friends and relatives who have come to support me in this undertaking, especially my family. They have always come, even when I'm not able to send the pocket money that he needs, they always come handy. Then I also will not forget Honorable Peter Nyandega. Is waiting MC in the Bogichora ward. That's my ward. Peter Nyandega has always encouraged me to take children to school. Yeah, he's one man. He keeps inquiring about their welfare. I don't know whether he saw this coming. Then our MP, Honorable Vincent Kemosi, in fact, he called me yesterday. And even indicated to me that he'll be there for me as I prepare the boy to go to school. I can't forget my colleagues at St. Don Bosco Secondary School. Sometimes I've had to run to go and see the boy in school. So there are those who come in to help me cover up for my work so that I can go out, Mr. Mwansa, Mr. Somoni and others. They are very useful. Then I also can't forget the Gilgil Hills fraternity, from the manager, the principals. They have done well. They have assisted. The class teacher, Malum Festas Kialo, so instrumental. And even the rest of the teachers that were teaching my son in Gilgil Hills. Then from my ward as well, yesterday when the news got out, there were
you had so many phone calls.
I know they in fact, I was at home, by the way. So they of course, they came in large numbers to congratulate and say thank you. So I also thank them so much, the fact that they have accepted the good news, and it's a good thing for us.
Yes, and Bruce, they do say that show me your friends and I tell you your character. Have any of your close friends performed well as well?
I am not yet. I've not yet been informed, but I'm sure they have.
And looking at the CBC, Mark Matunga, and how it has been accepted, of course there have been a lot of challenges in some quarters. We are talking about the teachers have not been trained well. We haven't gotten the gist of the CBC, and we are almost fully transitioning. Some even politicians have threatened to do away with it. What is your view on those sentiments?
Troy, I have a problem with you that you really don't like your name, because for the whole show I've been calling you Collins, and you cared not to correct me, so I'll go.
Apologies for that. I thought actually.
But that's okay. It's about my age as well. I'm getting old. I have a grandson who is 4 months. You know, I think that the problem that we have as Kenyans is basically resistance to change. There is nothing so complex about CBE or CBC. Completely nothing. I know I keep hearing, hey, that we don't have the equipment, we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have enough money, teachers have not been trained. Really, CBC is, or CBE education, competency-based education. It's basically a model of education that reorganizes or re-engineers our thinking to help guide the student more along his or her competency. You do not require, major things to actually do that. In the environment where the student or the child is, the teacher should have basic capacity to actually help guide that child and be able to actually help that child identify what their competence is. For you to actually identify that a child is competent in soccer, what do you need? Do you need this building to actually identify that? What sort of closed classroom do you need? For you to actually know, I mean, I know that my son is quite good. He's 9, but he's quite good with technology. I mean, he's coding. He does a lot of work on his computer, on his tablet, and on his phone. What sort of other equipment do I need for me to know that this young man is good in science? So let's demystify this myth that we require a lot of money. Teachers required major reorientation. No, the teachers is it George? Jared will tell you. He has all the knowledge, he has all the competency. We just need to give him an environment and the guidance to actually help guide the students. This young man, Bruce, is already aware of what he wants to do in robotics. What did they do to actually have Bruce think that he actually needs to actually learn something around robotics? So let's demystify this notion that, you know, if I get into power, I'm going to kill CBC. That's to me, I mean, and forgive my language, it's absolute nonsense, really. Let us, as a country, we know that this is the transition. For our children, this is the environment we live in. The students actually have to explore their competency areas. And the teachers, now that they already have the knowledge, they already have the pedagogical preparation, all they need to do is actually use those same skills to actually guide these students, that this one is good in swimming, this one is good in singing or in art and craft, this is good in science, and just basically guide them within that environment. You do not need two major investments. And I think that we're just basically arguing out of, in my view, lack of proper appreciation, which in other words is called ignorance. If we are lacking proper appreciation of what the environment is today, then we'll get into even much bigger problems. And now we're going to start blaming CBC. Then we turn back to what? 844, and excuse me, 844 is just basically a number. It just means that you take 4 years, 8 years in primary school, 4 years in secondary schools, and 4 years in the university or in college. That is what it is. It has nothing to do with content. It's just basically a number in terms of how the education is divvied up in terms of stages and transition. That is really what it is. And if the transition has now been changed, let us refocus. It is the same teachers. There's nothing like the teachers are not well prepared. And I think it's just basically reorientation. And that is what needs to be done. Jared has been teaching for all this long. He knows his content. You know, CBC does not change the logic or the principles of osmosis, does it? It doesn't.
All right. And Jared, perhaps you can pick it from there, your views on the CBC that is currently transitioning to CBC. You're a teacher as well.
Yeah, I'm a teacher. Yeah, maybe just like the question is saying, it's a matter of a change of the mindset. Once we change the mindset, put the required structures. With the teachers are, in fact, teachers, once they are through college, they can work in every department of the economy. They are trainable, they learn so fast. So there's no worry about the fact that they cannot deliver the CBE, as he puts it. They can do it. All they need is the structures required, the right policies, and this still goes back to the leadership. The commitment towards policy implementation. And any bottlenecks that are, by the way, that may come along the way should be addressed with the agency that it deserves, so that the government does not waste money towards the new curriculum, then end up a mess. Even 844 came. The idea was good. I remember the equipments that were brought to schools. Somehow they came and they were never used for the purpose. Even we had the laptops that were brought to schools. Believe it or not, some of those laptops have never been used by the kids. In as much as maybe if other schools didn't get, I don't know.
Yes.
But those that got, did they ever get to the...
And are they even being used?
Are they being used?
Yeah. Sure.
They're actually in the strong rooms.
Yes.
That is a waste of resources, because obviously resources were put into the purchase of those gadgets. If they were put into use, then it will be useful, just like he's indicating. People must think differently and act.
Okay.
In a small way, with time we'll be able to move.
As we wind up, tell your son, Bruce Mackenzie, something.
Yeah, I want to tell him thank you for keeping the promise. We wish you well.
Thank you.
And above all, we thank God for you. We thank God for everything.
Wrap it up, Jared. Bruce, your final comments.
I think it's just to congratulate all candidates in total, and to just tell them that no matter what marks they've gotten, they should just know that it's not the end of the road. There's still more to come. They should just trust in God and do their best.
Well said. The next 4 years,
maybe one for my candidates at St. Don Bosco. I told them I have a son who is taking an exam. I also wish them well. I'm also wishing them well. When the results will be out finally, they should be able to be happy. And we thank God for everything.
Bruce Mackenzie and Jared Magata. Bruce Mackenzie is the top student in the country in the just released KCPE examination. His father, who is also, incidentally, is also a teacher, Jared Ogata. And also we had Mark Matunga, who is an education specialist. That's all we had for this first hour. Keep them coming. Of course, we are congratulating Bruce and also all the students who did their KCPE. That was announced yesterday. John Musa also says very, very awesome. Desh, you say congratulations. Eriko, you say congratulations, my brother. Also Sam saying congratulations, and they keep coming. Congratulations again, and thank you so much for making time.
Thank you.
This is indeed News Check, and we are taking a quick breather, but after the education matters, we now cross over to matters politics. Yes, of course, we are headed towards the nominations, and we've had a few words that have made the political world spin, and we are going to be tackling that in the next hour. Just keep it, KBC.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Perhaps, okay.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
To get Control Your Thinking as your skiza tune, dial *811*961#.
Did you know that you have complete control over everything that surrounds you? Yes, fully control over all that comes out of the seas, the earth, and the universe. That control is your thinking. Good thoughts bear good fruits, but bad thoughts will always bear bad fruits. Control your thinking.
To get Control Your Thinking as your skiza tune, dial *811*961#. *811*961#.
Mundos divididos por una sombra de traición.
Chase vicious murderers and criminals like you. Then be careful. Remember what happened the last time you tried to mess with me, Hidalgo.
And I'm not going anywhere.
Rafaela, you have to understand.
Don't you dare bail out on me.
I'm going to make sure that Mariela gets back everything that you and your family stole from her.
Father Daniel is still in a coma. What? He's fighting for his life. Nevertheless, his condition is critical.
I have an agent that's starting to tie loose ends together, and sooner or later, it will lead him to something. If that happens, we go to jail.
Well, in that case, make sure he won't find anything.
Lying heart.
Fue sembrando el veneno y la ambición.
You decided to be Shannon because one day you'll take your revenge?
Pinky? You're really Pinky?
Learn about skincare. You learn everything from makeup removal to facial massage. You'll have no time for lunch.
You decided to be Shannon because one day you'll take your revenge?
Pinky? You're really Pinky?
Learn about skincare. You learn everything from makeup removal to facial massage. You'll have no time for lunch.
Welcome back and thanks for keeping it KBC. Away from education matters now, let's focus on the politics shaping the country. And on set, I have two politicians who are even gunning for bigger seats in the 2022 election, but they do know a thing or two about politics. And we have on my immediate left, we have Gideon Gashara, who is the majority leader, Kiambu County Assembly, and also the MCA of the Ndeia. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
And on my extreme left, we have Elijah Karanja. Elijah Karanja is a politician and also a gubernatorial aspirant in the newest city in the country, that is the great city of Nakuru. Karibuni, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And first things first, you'll be vying also for an MCA seat again?
Yeah, definitely I'll be defending my position, which is MCA Ndeia. I'm serving my first term, so I'm looking forward to be given an opportunity so that I can serve my second term as the MCA Ndeia, Ndeia ward, and I'm vying on UDA ticket, so I'm looking forward for being nominated on 14th of April.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you?
Okay, fine. I'm an independent candidate. First of all, like you said, I'm from Nakuru County. My name is Elijah Karanja. and I'm running for the gubernatorial position in Nakuru County as an independent candidate. The reason maybe most people would ask why is simply because party politics in Kenya has become very difficult. You know, we see the way nominations are, no ideologies. You know, I'm sorry to say my brother here, pretty much like kiosk. And my politics, from what I want to set my politics, is ideas, because I believe it's about ideas. Politics is about ideas. And so that's why I decided, after looking at all the parties, especially in my area where the candidates were already predetermined for the gubernatorial seat, so I had to vie as an independent candidate.
Do you have any, perhaps, even if you will be vying as an independent candidate, do you have any political inclination? Perhaps you will be supporting Baba or you'll be supporting Ruto?
Okay, or at national level?
Yes.
Okay, fine. I'm trying to tell people the position I'm going for is for the governor. And thanks, I hope they support me too, because one thing I know, they are running a candidate against me, each one of them. As the national politics shape up, as we move on. But right now, I'm vying as a governor of Nakuru County. And I'm not taking positions. I respect both gentlemen, and I hope they also sell their ideas at the national level, because that's where they are. Because if you look at both governments, they are very dependent. As a matter of fact, we have an attitude of thinking the county and the national government should work together. But even if you look at the constitution, each one of them is singularly delegated. So I would say I respect the gentlemen, and I hope they also support me. But up to this point, I respect their positions, and I would wish, even at Nakuru level, they respect the gubernatorial position as independent.
Okay, you will tell us more on why you want to become the next Nakuru governor, and you're being pitted against very formidable candidates.
Absolutely.
If you don't mind my asking, what is your background?
Education? Oh, okay, fine. I went to, if I start, I went to...
In a nutshell.
Okay, fine. I'm a graduate of Kenyatta University, whereby I did economic sociology, and then I moved to America. I went for my master's, but unfortunately I did not finish because of the economic situations here at home at that time. But I did have experiences in working there, and working and living in that society, and still I had some kind of education which cannot be not at a higher level. But yeah, that's my...
yes, I was able to pick up some accent in your speech, but that's just a light moment. Yes. Let's go back to majority leader.
Yes.
Which political inclination?
I'm running on a UDA ticket. So having resigned from Jubilee because I was elected, through Jubilee ticket, and I have my reason as to why I have decided to run on a UDA ticket. We, the people of Mount Kenya, or the mountain, we have supported our president for the 2 terms. And it is now the time now for him to retire. And we appreciate the good work which he has done throughout the country. But again, we feel that we have to enjoy some freedom to make our decision. We remember very well when they sought prayers. Actually, it was in Nakuru Stadium, Afra Stadium, where they came together. Then they were reading, the president was reading the TNA, and the deputy was actually the party leader, URP. And they formed a coalition where they agreed that the president should enjoy his 10 years, and also the deputy president should also enjoy his 10 years. Now we are people who do not want to break promises, and that is why we have decided, and we are happy with how the country has been governed. So we do not want to be perceived as people who do not, who betrays others, who do not keep promises.
But with all due respect, a lot has changed since then. They were even wearing the same ties, the same shirts, but the politics are so dynamic. They change every now and then. If we decide to put whatever we said 10 years ago and decide that it will be our future, don't you think that in politics-wise that's
quite normal? Even that's quite normal. People come together, people break friendship. That's quite normal. And also politics is not exceptional So it is because there is no permanent enmity or friendship in politics. It is just interest. But we have a president who is retiring, surely. He should just, emulate Kibaki. Kibaki never took side. He should just go and retire peacefully.
But some people have argued that it is his democratic right.
Yeah.
Yes, and by saying that even a long time ago when we had chiefs, they did leave their son and say this will be the next, or don't you think that's democracy?
But you have just said that, things change. That was then. Now we are the new...
Things change.
But we appreciate actually, and we respect his decision.
All right.
He can decide, to support anybody. And obviously he has shown where he is. He has decided to support Honorable Raida. Now,
And gentlemen, talking about allegiance and support of each other, looking at the last couple of days, the nation was treated to a political shocker when we talked about the news that have been shaping the best part of the weekend, the president impeachment. When we are talking about politics, do you think that's the right way to go? And after that, we hear the deputy now shoots and says A, B, C, D. The president say this, now they say, and they are the two most politicians in the country. They are our leaders. Do you think that's quite it's fruitful or it's good for the nation at this political moment?
Okay, what I understand and what I said from my colleague here, and he holds a very senior position, especially in the county government as a majority leader. So he has political authority. I'll tell him about the political culture, because what he is talking about is what we call cognitive dissonance. You're made to believe something that does not exist. I would say personally in politics, I cannot even choose side, because how would I choose side? Because all I get is more of the same. Because when you're looking at the government, what you look is facts and analysis. And the problem with our people is talking to them facts and analysis is useless, because they are enjoying what we call, they're enjoying emotional superiority through their ignorance. Because if you hear somebody say Uhuru did this, but Uhuru cannot tell me this, then the deputy for Uhuru tells you to do this. Then that tells you it's a circular mentality. You are not talking about anything. As a matter of fact, if you look, everybody who is jumping ship from each and every party, they're the same people we had in 2017. What has changed? It's opportunity to get to power. Simple. It's opportunity to get to power. And credit to the deputy president personally. He has created his grassroots mobilization. But what I would tell him, I was to meet him, most of the politicians are taking advantage of him. Because I can tell you, and I say here on this TV, after elections, if the deputy president doesn't become the president, they all shift. They'll go to the other boat. We know them. It's the same monkeys, different forest. So it's not about ideas, and let's not try to hype it and try to cover it and beautify it. Let's say we are following deputy because he's popular, and whoever is following prime minister is popular. But and the president has a choice to go wherever he wants. Maybe we cannot compare Uhuru and Kibaki according to their politics. Maybe he feels he needs to be there. So, but when you talk about where we want to follow, let's put facts and analysis and see why are we not following this guy? What has he done against what he's supposed to have done? I think that's
Gashara, do you concur with what Elijah is talking about? And we have seen people changing sides as early as 2 days ago, where you see people shifting from UDA to Jubilee, UDA, ODM, UDA. We have seen them jumping ship before the nominations, and he says that looking at the politics that we have in the country, these are the same monkeys who are going to be jumping to another forest just because either on the nominations that are coming, or if one of the two sides doesn't win.
Let me say this. Human being is an evolving being. Today you believe in something, tomorrow you run something, and you change. He has also taken a side, or he has chosen, he has made a decision to be a independent candidate based on, something. And by shifting from one party, you have not violated any law. You are free to do that. the Constitution allows. And people are free to do that until 26th of this month.
Yes.
So people are free to do that. So it will only become illegal if you do that after that deadline. So people are free to do that. And back to your first question when you said the politics of the week, whether it is polarizing the country. I would say that a tree is known by its fruit. And we have observed the two people per se, the president and the deputy president. And saying that he tried to impeach him, that is, I think, propaganda. Just at this particular time, we are going to hear everything about candidate A or candidate B.
Okay.
But if you look at...
Even my question is what it is doing to the politics of the day and the country, in as much as it's my word against yours, what it is doing to the politics of the day.
And that is where I differ with my colleague a bit. Our people are more enlightened. Currently, our people are more enlightened. In fact, before you tell them something, they already know it. Like the people I represent, the Kiambu, the Kiambu people are very much enlightened. In fact, most of the time, we do not just make decision, and report back to them. We sit down, we make decision together, and at times we also get to learn from them. So our people are able to look around what is happening, and they are able to detect that these are just propaganda, and it cannot polarize the country anymore because they know why. Was it not brought sometime before? It has just been brought currently when we are having campaigns, because it is intended to polarize the country, but our people are more enlightened and they may.
And you are the majority leader of the Kiambu County Assembly, and I can say it's one of the biggest in the country. And of course, when it comes to even the GDP that Kiambu County itself has on its own, even before we talk about the national GDP, is quite immense. How is the relationship now? You, as a county assembly, did oust Babayao, Ferdinand Waititu, and now you have Njue as the governor. How have things been? At least you can enlighten Kenyans.
Well, in fact, you have not had any noise, from Kiambu County. Yeah. Immediately we finished impeaching, and I can clearly say that I read that fight, that clamor for change, and we were impeaching a governor based on fact, on what he had done. And we were actually the first county assembly to do that. So we are people of high integrity and also high moral values. And since then, since the current governor took over, we have been able to pacify and the county, and we have been working together. That is the executive and the county assembly, and we have delivered a lot which was not actually delivered for the last 7 years. Bearing in mind the amidst COVID pandemic, we have been able to deliver a lot because we brought in a manager who was able to manage the county properly, and we were able to instill sanity and prudence utilization of public fund.
All right, that's a good way to put it. Elijah, yes, you've been and you've lived in the United States, and you know it has been hailed as one of the greatest world democracies. But we have seen some consensus in parties where, like, we hear ANC did talk to Senator Malala and former Senator Halwale and decided this is our candidate, so you should step aside. That's consensus as opposed to democracy. We saw it in Narok, where the DP did talk to all those who wanted to vie, and they came up with one person. We've seen it in ODM, in Siaya.
Yeah.
What would you say on the same? Because in a democracy, we should fight it out.
Okay, fine. First of all, if I may do a little bit of comparative of American democracy and why that democracy works versus what we have here, is a gender-based politics. Like if you vying there for the presidency or whatever, there's what we call domestic policy, there's foreign policy, and there's economics. Most of the time, Those are the basically what they talk about. When they talk about domestic policy, they talk about healthcare, they talk about the social integration, you know, the way their society is at that moment. When they talk about America is very powerful in foreign policy, so definitely you see them all over the world trying to control for whatever reason. And then there is what they call economics. Americans are very they have attachment to economics because that's where the jobs comes, that's where the money is going to come, the money is joining the country.
And the taxes.
Exactly, taxes. Yes. So basically, if the economy is working, most of these things are the things we do, because even the foreign policy has to follow a powerful economic policy. The problem with our governance here is, first of all, they don't have anything. And I know a young fella like my friend here, I wouldn't blame him for whatever reason is happening in Kiambu, because he's a young fella, but he's dominated by our political culture. Because if you hear mostly like at his position, he's supposed to have specific data. Because if you say like roads, you know, before Nyoro and Waitito, we have done 10,000 kilometers of ABC and D. If it's education, we have done so many. We have built so many classes. If it's ABC, that's the data. That's why I told you it matters so much. We push our politicians today to talk about facts and analysis, because in that context, we'll be able to judge what kind of reader we are getting. But without them, then we are all movers. We are all over trying to paint a picture that does not exist. If you look at my county, because let me talk about Nakuru County. If you look like our Human Development Index, you know, like my colleague here talk about people are informed. The way you judge how people are informed is through Human Development Index, which shows you what kind of education people are getting, their life expectation and quality of life, poverty. But if you look at counties, even Kiambu, by the way, if you look at their index, we are below. We are performing below even the United Nations numbers. You know, we are like at 5.2. Something like that, 5.2, 5.4. That is a very low number for people to be informed the decisions they are making. And that is why my first policy is education. As one area of enlightening our people and again trying to fight the abject poverty our people live in.
Perhaps you would, Gachara would like to respond to what he said as you also look at what I had asked earlier. Consensus. Do you believe we should be going the consensus way or the democracy way? Because we've seen parties agree that we will not field, and perhaps we have independent candidates like Elijah who would want the people to decide for themselves.
Thank you. Let me also tell my colleague here that we have data, and given an opportunity, we can also clearly show what we have been able to do. Remember, we also read by an economist like him. My background is in computing. I have a degree in computer science. So we do a lot of analysis. And we can support what I'm saying, using data. Because we know numbers do not try.
Yes.
So we have data on what we have been able to do. Let me say that in politics, that as long as you don't violate any law, you are free to do anything. We have also seen some time back, and also I'm also foreseeing somewhere in Northeastern, they have negotiated democracy. That is agreeable, as long as it does not elicit a fight or a division. So consensus you can do consensus if people agree to come together and decide on something. As long as you are not violating any law, you can do that. Something he has also mentioned about, and it is good to compare us with the US, but also we are the people to build this country. Yes, we claim that US is more developed, is doing this. What are we doing to our country? We are the people to develop this country. Look at our age and compare it with US. You cannot compare. Can we judge us? Can we compare us with them at a similar age? Well, how are they behaving? I believe they were still, practicing slave trade, as we are not. So we are ahead. So me, I'm not ashamed. We may be experiencing some problem. Yes, I know we are experiencing some problem. But as a reader, I'm a person who is supposed to fix that. That is why in most cases you will not hear me, comparing ourselves with other developed nations, because they are the people who build their country. We also have a responsibility to build our country, and we do not have necessarily to build it the way others have done.
All right. Okay. You've heard that, Elijah, and still responding to that, I would also want us to look at, still on democracy, we are looking at party primaries. Between the 9th and the 15th of this coming month. And we've seen a lot of game of musical chairs from point A to point B. Is it signs of things to come in August?
Okay, my colleague here is a computer scientist. He knows how to work algorithms. As a matter of fact, I know he's so good. Right now, given no politicians, he would work around the outcome. Is it true? You know what will happen. We know what will happen after nomination. We know some of these people already open the window of independent. The independent office will be overloaded with these people because they cannot follow democracy. They don't believe in it.
So you're saying very well that we will not see the democracy.
No, we're not going to see democracy either outside the party.
In either party?
Exactly.
Why is that?
In and out. Because it's a culture. Njue, let me tell you something. And I will remind my colleague about here. He's talking about so much about law, written law. But it's about the moral law. If the written law contradicts the moral law, it's useless. Colonial government were using written law. They really oppressed our people through written law. Kenyatta was put through trial, and the Kapenguria 6 through written law. They had lawyers, they had judges, and a written law. Moi was governing this country through written law. Everybody who was doing this country was, and we defy them, because if the written law overcomes moral law, it's useless. You cannot obey a law that is not morally right. So you cannot just say because the laws are written, you're right. No. You have to have a moral conscience as a reader. Because I was telling somebody, if you are governor right here, you've been given two choices: to buy a V8 worth 25 million or to build a school. And the law tells you to buy a V8. What does the law tell you? What's the morality?
The school.
Exactly. You defy that law. You buy the school. You build a school. That's the way we are supposed to see things. Written law is what we have been using to camouflage one thing, to abuse power. One, corruption. You see, these people, some of them, I'm not saying they take billions and then we go to court, they pay bond and all that, but they don't care. They don't have conscience. So we are supposed to first of all have readers who have conscience, who have feelings. How are these people acting? Because if you look at our governors, they live like small cheese. They live, they're trying to compare themselves with the national government. They're using, like my governor, he uses 1.1 million every day. That's the kind of money we maintain with him. Our GDP is barely 500 billion.
You note, the issue here is that you must be popular to be elected. Some of us believe, we are confident enough that regardless where we are, we shall still clinch the position we are.
So you do believe that the party primaries will offer a good dress rehearsal for the 2022 polls?
Sure, with reason.
Yes.
With reason. Because my friend has said that I'm not, giving fact. The race is quite tight for any party. It's quite tight.
That is true.
And for the party to succeed in August, they must make sure that the best candidate clinch the ticket. If by any chance they perform a shoddy, nomination exercise, definitely they are going to lose in August. So any party is going to make sure that the primaries are very fair and free, so that the best candidate clinch the ticket, so that he is able to fight off with the other party. Any mistake which would happen in between, it will have a great ramification.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you, of course, you.
No. First of all,
you are an independent candidate.
Absolutely.
But so much so. Do you believe that there will be democracy in the party primaries that will mirror the 2022 general polls? despite the fact that you're vying as an independent candidate?
First of all, let me tell my brother here, we're just rebuttaling because the problem that exists in Kiambu exists in Nakuru. We are all held up in the same garment of mutuality. And I can tell you, I can take facts A, B, C, and D and see probably as a majority leader, I know he has gone through so much. Even in his own organizing his group, he tried to be, horse trading. I know he has gone through challenges, and I know his challenges are our challenges, and that's maybe what personally I want to fix. What you ask about is what democracy? Like I told you, Njue, that word, remove it from your explanation. There's nothing called democracy in Kenya. No. Let's rename it, my friend. Because when you use the word democracy...
because you're vying as an independent, because the two parties, the two major political formations will have to have democracy.
Let me ask you a question. Yes. I know you're a young man. There's one fact we should tell you. There's no democracy here. I know when you were born, things have changed. We have more universities than we had before. New cars have come up. We have even new fashion and dressing style. But do you know, I can tell you, the only politician you don't know right now is the one who is dead. Since you knew what politicians are. These are the same people you have heard since you became of age. Am I right?
I'm quite sure you're coming with that line because you want people to vote you, because you say you're different. I've never vied for any political seat. I don't have any political inclination. Is it the case?
No, okay, fine. First of all, let me tell you, I voted before. I was in Jubilee. Let me just be very... yeah, absolutely. And the manifesto...
At least it's opening up now.
Listen, let me tell you something. As you grow, you have to learn the ropes. There's no doubt. In politics, you have to learn the ropes. When I was in Jubilee, personally, I thought about the manifesto was working so well.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, personally, I found infrastructure the guy was doing, but there's a lot of infighting in the politics. But as we age in politics, now I figured out, if you do your data, if the president is out, the party is out. Look at Moi. Moi went out, Kanu died.
But it is still there.
No. I mean like the power it had. What kind of, it was a juggernaut then. Kibaki, PNU was gone. You see? And I can tell you right now, as much as we are trying to rehabilitate Jubilee is technically not going to survive. It's not dead. It's not dead, but it's going to have it very hard. I'm not going to say it's dead.
Do you believe that Jubilee is dead?
No, it's not.
It's not.
No, it's not. It's not. Let me tell you something. Jubilee, as one, how would Jubilee be dead where the same monkeys jump to UDA? They will kill UDA and come to Jubilee. That's what they're doing. We know how they hop, party hopping. Right now, I'm telling you, Njue, take it to the bank. August, you told me I am delaying failure.
Yes.
Let me tell you, nobody is delaying failure like those people who are trying to follow the political establishment. Because come August, after elections, I know if Raila doesn't win, there will nothing be called Azimio. That will be dead. If Ruto doesn't win, there is nothing which will be called UDA.
But ODM has maintained the fire.
I said Azimio. I said Azimio.
That's just Azimio.
I said Azimio. Yeah. Azimio would die then.
You two are Jubilee party members, but you've all jumped ship, and I know we can have this conversation for the next 2 hours or so. But away from that, the politics that we're having in the country right now, you're a majority leader, and there are so many things that we are grappling with as a country as well, despite the fact that the elections must be conducted. We have hunger, we have drought in the country, we have, of course, COVID is not yet over as well, and we also have some parts of the country insecurity, because at the end of the day, we cannot be, because we are here in Nairobi, and we only have the normal insecurity, robbery, but looking at some part of the country, they are actually having it quite rough than other parts of the country, and the politicians have decided to use that as their fodder when politicking. What do you have to say on that, majority leader?
Absolutely, what you have said is that the country is actually experiencing some challenges. The drought, as you have rightly said, is there, and our people are actually suffering. Even some of the area that we are representing, because I also represent Arua side of Kiambu. Actually, it is belong to the Asal region, and it would be unfortunate for any politician to take advantage of that and politicize the subject. What we should be doing is that we should be coming together, and we are actually trying to our level best to assist those who are experiencing those challenges. And personally, we are running a foundation where we are trying in our small way to assist those people who are hungry, as we also wait for the government also to also meet its own obligation, because it is work which should be done by the government. But I have also seen that they have also devised a way that they are also reaching those people. Traditional, they used to give the relief food, but currently there is a fund which they are giving the people. There's a name they are using. There's a fund transfer mechanism which they are using to reach the people, so that they can eliminate the expenses of the trucks and other expenses. So I think if there is a time that all people, regardless of their political inclination, they should come together. It is a time like this, but we also praying to God that He also give us rain, and we have started actually experiencing some rain. So in few months' time, we should be
come and dry. And still, you can, Elijah, you can chip in with that, because at the end of the day, as we are politicking, 3 million people need food.
Yeah.
We also have many people who have been displaced by bandits in this very country. And we are, the economy is still battered, but the politics that we are having are not addressing that. Or is it because we see the elections are less than 4 months?
Okay, first of all, let me digress a little bit. The issue of 200 years or whatever is debunked by China. China has been able to. By the way, did you know China had a per capita GDP lower than Kenya in 1980?
Really?
Yeah. Right now it's number 2 in PPP, purchasing power parity. And China is, first of all, the first thing if you're developing, and I'm telling Njue, because my colleague here, because he's in the government, he's a majority leader. And I would rather, he told us, right as you ask his question, and I'm trying to mirror your problem with the one you're getting there, and it's not yours, it's a system. I want to attack the system, because I hear his intentions are very good. You know, he's talking about, even he has his own foundation, he won't help. But he want to do, what's the government doing about it? You know, that's why I want to say, like, in Kiambu, also in the area, by the way, I know people are hurting. You know, everywhere. As much as we are looking at the bigger picture, there is some underground issues here happening, but we are not knowing. There are so many people going hungry. But imagine we have transferred 3 trillion to the devolved government for the last 10 years, something like that, right? But we cannot feed our people, the most basic. So that is that is my question. That's the question I would ask. So my question is, why don't we come up with measures that will eliminate that problem for good? And like you're saying, maybe now we can use relief, but you can't do it for 60 years. Oh, we've been doing relief every year for 60 years.
I can say what we have been able to do actually in Kiambu. In fact, when Governor Nyoro came...
Can you kindly hold the thought?
No problem.
And of course, when I come back, you will be telling us what you will do so that you may become the next majority leader, because you're defending your seat. And why the governor? No MCA, MP, or maybe the senator.
I don't sound.
We'll be getting back. But for now, let's cross over to Westlands, where there was a meeting by the registrar of political parties on an update on political parties membership. That's a good place to pick up this conversation from.
The party has submitted that data by close of 26th. Then the verification process will sort out that. In terms of a party has registered, once a party registers, it's supposed to upload that data and forward to the registrar. So any data that has been done by the party by 26th and has not found its way into the register, then that is the process of verification takes care of those people. But the list must have been submitted before the deadline again. So that is what I wanted to clarify, and that is the process of verification. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another round. We had some hats up there. It has been said there. Thank you. Introduce yourself and
my name is Charles Osonga. Now, there are some political parties that are already wishing out direct nomination certificates, even in violence. Have you received any complaints from other aspirants who are eyeing the same positions, so on which tickets are being issued?
Yes, we have received those kind of complaints. First of all, the process of identifying candidates is a sole responsibility of a political party. So the political party may use different methods, including issuing of a certificate on basis of consensus, on basis of party loyalty, on basis of the affirmative action, because some of the seats may be issued, some of the consideration also is affirmative action. For example, the list that will be taken to the Electoral Commission need to have a third of that list being either gender, the two-third gender rule. Meaning, if a party finds that it may not have enough women, it's a decision of the party to also give affirmative action to such. So we may not the rule or take over the role of a political party, because a political party has systems and has freedom to check on their candidate and aspirants, and then determine which is the best suited candidate to compete with other candidates. Because the purpose of nominations is to ensure that you have the best of the candidate in regards to the political party. So they may have different methods, but fairness must also be exercised in the process, and that's why a Kenyan is at liberty then to their dispute resolution mechanism that are captured both in the Act and in the Constitution. The first dispute resolution mechanism is to actually complain to the party if you feel that something has not gone according to plan. The second level is that we have the political parties dispute tribunal, which actually will address all the dispute arising from party nominations, so that should any person feel that he's aggrieved, that he has not been treated well by the political party, then there are those dispute channels. So the complaints are there, but the dispute resolution mechanism are also there. But we may not wish to usurp the powers of the party as far as identification of candidates is concerned. Good. I think that is it. Oh.
There have been the registrar of political parties there from Westland there responding to questions from the state there on matters political parties there, and something that she has brought in as much as how parties can select their candidates. You can touch on that and tell us how you intend to turn the tables and become the next majority leader again for the Kiambu County.
Thank you. The party is at liberty to either conduct nomination, build consensus, and you have seen areas that they have already started, or even conduct a survey. The party is at liberty to do that when to select a candidate which is going to be a flag bearer. So that is within the law. I'm rallying on my development track record, because personally I'll be judged by what I've done, my performance, because I'm seeking re-election. And I am proud to report to the people of Njue that we have been able to solve perennial problems. We have solved the perennial problems ranging 30 years back of a titling program, the Title D. And we are giving our people the Title D, that is ownership, where they have never enjoyed those Title D. I've also adequately able to handle the issue of water. Now we are enjoying adequate supply of water in the entire ward. You'll be shocked that my ward didn't have a polytechnic. And my ward is one of the biggest. Actually, it measures 124 square kilometer. It is twice bigger than Kabete. So it is a very vast ward. But I have been able to put, we have been able to put one polytechnic that is serving now the people of Njue. We intend also to do others. Personally, I've come up with some initiative to assist youth. When I joined, when I was elected, we never used to have any youth activity. Currently, I've supported football for the last 5 years. Even there is one which is ongoing. I've also overseen, darts and pool competition. We have been able to give the car wash machine, 20 in numbers to different youth group, and also the vibrators machine to assist, our youth group to so that they can be able to earn a living. So we have done a lot, and that is what I'm going to be, rallying so that I can be voted in. I have also been able to do a lot of the, writing to the tune of more than 200 street right and about 10 right mask. So the area is now well reached. So
and also you led the Kiambu County Assembly in impeaching the governor. Would you want that to go down in your CV in your first 5 years?
Absolutely, because it is something which has been tried, in the last 7 years.
Yeah. You're the first majority leader to lead the exit and impeachment successful.
Yes.
Yes.
And in fact, whenever other assemblies try to do that, they seek some advice from me. I was able to, anyway.
All right. Let's go to Elijah. Why did you start as a MCA, Senator, MP? Why governor?
It's a very familiar question.
I tell you for fact that you're going against a very formidable leader.
Absolutely, because of the perception, because we have been indoctrinated to believe these semi-gods are everything. If you are asking for that opinion, if we had I would take back to history. In 1952, if we had an opinion of the freedom fighters we wanted, we would be in bondage today. Because none of these people you call, none of these people you call for bid would even go near anything. Because these are people who appear. The way you want to see their shells is because they want to portray an image. That's why they have big cars, they live in big neighborhoods, but inside them there's nothing. So personally, I'm not the kind of guy to fear. First of all, I say I don't fear an army of lions led by sheep. Okay. So
you find out the hard way. Anyway, why?
No, don't validate it. Don't validate it.
Yes.
Because they are watching. Because I want everybody to know.
Yes.
We cannot live in these perpetual lies anymore. We have to come up, because democracy is about giving the consent to those people to govern us. We are the majority. But what we're having in Kenya is probably a ruling class of the rich, which you would call oligarchy at some point. This is not a democracy, and that's why I told you we have to redefine it and validate it as a democracy. I'll tell you one point. I digress a little bit. When America was being formed.
Okay, pick up the pace. We need to wind up.
Okay, fine. There was one of their outlaw freedom fighters called James Madison. James Madison, he wrote in their constitution, he wrote, knowledge will never govern ignorance. That is the concept of America. Ignorance has never governed knowledge. But here in Kenya, it's the opposite. Ignorance governs knowledge.
And do you think some of the ideologies you've picked up from the States will be able to help you in the 2022 politics?
Don't even talk about me picking, because I'm a very grassroots fella. We want jobs for our youth. I told you about our girls don't have sanitary towels. We want a good economy. I know where the money is. We want to tell these people to stop wasting money and put the money where it is. So it's not about America, it's fixing issues here.
All right. Gentlemen, we need more time for this, and I will be more than glad to invite you again. But unfortunately, our time is up. But thank you so much for making time. I have been speaking to two gentlemen, two politicians. On my immediate left, we have MCA Ndigwa Ward, Ndeya Ward, who is also the majority leader, Kiambu County Assembly, who is Gideon Gashara, and Elijah Karanja, who is a gubernatorial aspirant, the great city of Nakuru. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time and for your insight. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Ben Troy Njue, and Susan Thuku is our sign language interpreter for the show that has just ended. We started with Anne Wangeshi, and Susan picked it up midway. Thank you so much for watching. Let's do this conversation some other time. For now, we have Kurunzi, Mashinani, and also Tamrini. See you at 1.